good morning. On behalf of Mahatma Gandhi Dental College and Hospital, I welcome all of you to this edition of the Combined Clinical Rounds under the chairmanship of Dr. M. L. Swarantar, Emeritus Chairperson, Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology. First and foremost, I extend my greetings and gratitude to the most respected, honorable Emeritus Chairperson for gracing this event. Dr. Sudhir Sachdeva, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ganesh Narayan Saxena, Pro-President, distinguished senior consultants of the hospital, senior faculty members of Medical and Dental College, and all the dear residents of both Dental and Medical College. I welcome you all to this academic event. I will just make a small attempt to introduce the Dental College before the actual presentation starts. For the benefit of some of you, I would like to inform that the Dental College was established as a separate entity in the year 2003, and we are in our 20th year. We started the college with an intake of 60 BDS seats, and in the year 2021, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare granted us permission to increase the seats to 100. So currently we are running the BDS program with 100 seats. The MDS program was started in 2010. Currently we have an intake of 31 seats. The breakup is as mentioned in the slide. 5 seats each in oral maxillofacial surgery, prosthodontics, conservative dentistry, orthodontics, pediatric and preventive dentistry, and 3 seats each in periodontics and oral medicine. I am happy to inform all of you that in the year 2022, for the first time since starting of the NEET, we achieved 100% admissions in both BDS and MDS. With the support of the management, I extend my thanks again to the senior management of the university. Most of the laypersons and also maybe some of the medical colleagues also may not know all the specialties of the dentistry. So I'll make a brief attempt to introduce all the 9 specialties. Oral medicine and dental, the first 5 specialties which I'm talking about in this slide are like siblings of the some of the departments of the medical college. Like oral medicine and dental radiology is like general medicine for the medical field. It deals with diagnosis and medical treatment of oral diseases caused due to local and systemic causes. They also are responsible for the radio imaging of the entire maxillofacial area. Oral and maxillofacial surgery are the cousins of the dental surgery department, and they deal with simple procedures like tooth extraction and complex procedures like fixation of jaw fractures, TM joint surgery, orthodontic surgery, cleft lip palate repair, surgical excision of cysts and tumors of the jaws, and also maxillofacial trauma. Oral pathology and microbiology, extension of pathology and microbiology in the medical field. They handle biopsy, tissue processing, histopathology, enzyme histochemistry, and immunohistochemistry. Public health dentistry, offshoot of PSN. They are responsible for promotion of oral health at community level, planning and conducting community health programs, carrying out health survey and health education in the community. Pediatric and preventive dentistry, again as the name suggests, extension of pediatrics.
History of hypothyroidism, which is unmonitored, nutrition being hampered as there are severe oral ulcers which are hampering the nutrition since she is not able to eat normal food as well. She is sensitive to allergens and can be considered due to the previous drug.
These 4 departments are exclusively dental specialties. Conservative dentistry and endodontics, basically they deal with treatment of dental caries and its sequelae. Most common procedures are root canal treatment, dental fillings, inlay, on-lip restorations, and also cosmetic dental restorations and tooth bleaching, to name a few. Prosthodontics and crown and bridge is a department which deals with replacement of missing teeth and associated maxillofacial structures with artificial substitutes. Like dentures, crowns, bridges, implant crowns and dentures, and maxillofacial prostheses like obturators, nasal prostheses, ocular and orbital prostheses. And lastly, last but not the least, periodontics. It is the foundation of all of dentistry, which deals with the treatment of oral diseases, especially related to the supporting structure, what we call as periodontium. So they deal with the common procedures like scaling of teeth, mucogingival surgeries, periodontal surgeries, and cosmetic surgery of the gums. Now I would like to inform the august audience that we were successful in conducting 3 national events in the past 3 years. In the year 2020, the Department of Pediatric Dentistry conducted the 17th National PG Convention with around 800 registered delegates. This was pre-COVID. And during COVID, we had a hybrid program, that is the 23rd Indian Prosthodontics Society PG Convention. We had around 1800
on the basis of history, what should be the differential diagnosis?
In 2022, that is post-COVID, we had the PG Convention, National PG Convention conducted by Oral Medicine and Radiology with around 500 registrations. So this is one of the highlights of our student achievement, the recent student achievements. 4 students were able to crack the AIMS entrance exam. 3 of them last year. One was having an 8th rank, another 16th rank, and another 20th rank. 2 of them are doing their post-graduation in AIMS Rishikesh. One could not get into AIMS but ended up in Government Medical College Indore. And recently, Dr. Mansi Mengani was ranked 2nd in the All India level, and she is going to join AIMS New Delhi. So this is further in our cap, recent achievements. Now brief 1 minute about Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology. On behalf of the HOD, Dr. Anshuman Jamdade, who was not able to make it to this event, on his behalf I am just highlighting his department. It is mainly concerned about the basic diagnostic procedures and techniques useful in recognizing the diseases of oral tissues of systemic or local origin and their medical management. And these are the list of common disorders and diseases which are usually encountered in the department. Caries, periodontal disease, cystic tumors, odontogenic infections, mucosal disorders, salivary gland diseases, TMJ disorders. They are also into forensic odontology, cancer screening and detection, oral cancer screening and detection, and we have a dedicated tobacco cessation counseling center. This is a radiology clinic of the department where both intraoral and extraoral radiographic techniques are available, and they do around, these are some of the common radiographic procedures which are available. The common being the intraoral radiographs, OPG, which is on a daily basis, and the rest are all specialty radiographic techniques which are available. They have a healthy OPD of around, yes sir, this is the last one. So around 18,000 new patients in a year, around 1,000 intraoral and 600 extraoral radiographs per month, and on the research front also they are doing well, and also one of the faculty has been recently elected as EC member of the society. So thanks to the management, Dr. Amal Swankar sir, Vikas sir, we are going to install, we are excited about this, the most advanced CBCT machine, largest FOV available in the state of Rajasthan, likely to be installed within the next 15 days. Apart from all the uses in the dental, I would highlight even that it can be used for ENT to have a 3D imaging of internal ear, cervical spine and upper airway, and the scan takes not more than 20 seconds. So with this brief introduction about the college, thanks to the CCR team for providing us with this opportunity. And now I invite Dr. Anuja, PG resident of Oral Medicine and Radiology, to go ahead with the case presentation.
We are doing all जितना भी डेंटल काम होता है सारा हम कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास नेशनल फैकल्टी और बाकी सब जो भी मशीन है उसके लिए चाहिए होती है मेडिकल डेंटल कॉलेज फुल इक्विप्ड है.
We are fully equipped as per the Dental Council of India, and the CBCT is an additional feature which is not mandated, but our management has been gracious to provide us with the same.
At the nominal cost.
Yes, yes.
लोग बाहर के लोग जाते हैं, फुल फैकल्टी को बताते हैं कि हमारे पास सारी मशीनरी और नेशनल फैकल्टी और हर तरीके का काम हम करते हैं, और ये सीटें तो सब जगह अवेलेबल भी नहीं है.
Yeah, there are only few centers are available in Jaipur, and we will be one of the best. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. The topic for the today's CCR is a 45-year-old patient with recurrent oral ulcers. Patient presented with the chief complaint as a 45-year-old female patient with history of multiple ulcers on varying sides of tongue and cheek since 2 years. which was causing pain and discomfort on having hot and spicy food intake. There was also a secondary complaint of painful ulcer on left side of the tongue region since past 1 month. On acquiring the history of presenting illness, episodes of formation of multiple ulcers on varying sides of the oral cavity since past 2 years, which are having intermittent remission and reoccurring. Ulcers also spread to different sites having no specific pattern. There is no symptomatic relief or complete disease-free period reported by the patient. There are mild to moderate phases with intermittent aggravation phase during which the patient made multiple consultation. Patient noticed a small size ulcer on left side of the tongue 1 month prior to consultation, which was gradually increasing in size. It was associated with pain and burning sensation, and the pain aggravated since past 3 to 4 days, and now patient is not able to eat normal food. Thus consulted physician and taking medication. Patient earlier started off with the hormonal remedies, followed by she was treated with antioxidant topical as well as systemic antifungal treatment. Short course of topical as well as systemic corticosteroids were incorporated. However, no previous intraoral intervention was done, and neither she got any symptomatic relief or complete disease-free oral cavity. There was no vesical bular eruption prior to the ulcer formation, nor any fever, malaise, weight loss reported. No itching on the skin or any urinary gastrointestinal disturbances. No dryness of mouth.
ये जो आपने पहले सिम्टम्स बताए वो वेसाइकल और बुली इरप्शन प्रायर टू अल्सर फॉर्मेशन,
Yes, sir.
नो फीवर, माइलेज एंड वेट लॉस.
Yes.
What you want to rule out?
So, in case of the vesicular lesions, there is a prior formation of vesicles and bulla which rupture to lead to formation of ulcers. So that's why I asked the patient whether there was a prior formation of fluid-filled blisters or vesicle or bulla. And regarding the fever and malaise, in case of infection, it is always preceded with a prodromal phase of fever as well as malaise and weight loss.
Average you were concerned
Yes,
to
sir.
rule out any infectious pathology,
Yes.
whether it was viral or bacterial.
Yes, sir.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
You get the
There was no earlier food allergy nor any change in toothpaste over during the period of 2 years. Patient was treated with for hypothyroidism since past 10 years and was on constant dose of tablet carbimazole 5 milligrams, and it was unmonitored. There was a history of allergy from hair dye 1 year prior to consultation on scalp, and she was treated with antihistaminics, topical beclometasone lotion 1 month for 1 month, along with antibiotics and probiotics for 5 days, and the lesion resolved within 1 month. There was no significant family history. Neither the patient was having any deleterious habit like tobacco, betel nut, or pan chewing. No parafunctional habits like clenching and bruxism, which lead to atresia, that is wearing away of the teeth, and formation of sharp edges. There was a regular menstrual cycle history. She had 2 kids and none was suffering from any similar disease pattern of ulcers.
In which phase of cycle?
Like my learned friend pointed out, the differentials could be infection or secondary to stress, dietary deficiencies or vitamin deficiencies, autoimmune vesicular lesions, or regarding other factors, local or whether secondary to any systemic issues. I'll be eliminating the DBs in the upcoming slides. So starting off with the general physical examination, patient was having every built and was well nourished. All the vitals were within the normal range. There was no obvious skin lesions nor any problem in joint mobility or tenderness reported, no pallor or icterus. Left submandibular lymph nodes were palpable, enlarged sub-centimeter, tender and mobile. On intraoral examination, this is how we proceed. We start off with the lips, followed by the vermilion zone, then the buccal mucosa and associated with the vestibule, followed by tongue. So here on inspection, the lips were competent, there was no abnormality in the vermilion border. Labial mucosa finding was present, which I'll be discussing in the upcoming slide. The vestibules were normal. Regarding the tongue, the finding was present floor of the mouth as well. There was certain findings. Palate had no abnormality. Gingiva and the periodontium, there were multiple periodontal pockets which were associated with bleeding on probing, suggestive of some periodontal infection. Starting off with the main second complaint, there was a single ulcer measuring approximately 2 into 1.5 centimeter in size using vernier caliper, in size on left lateral border of the tongue, having irregular shape, sloping edges, surrounding margin was glossy red edematous. The floor, as it can be appreciated, is smooth, pale. There was no associated discharge or bleeding. Other findings.
Normal division anatomy.
Yes. So we started with the anterior 2/3 followed by the posterior 1/3. Then there are the lateral borders on right and the left side followed by the ventral surface and ultimately the freedom which attaches to it to the
central.
Sorry, sir?
Central. Ventral or central?
Ventral surface of the tongue.
How they are situated? Tell me the lymphatic drainage of the
Sir, the anterior 2/3 of the tongue drains into the tip of the tongue drains into the submental lymph nodes. The right and the left lateral border of the tongue along with the mid-dorsum drains into the submandibular lymph node, and the posterior most also for the yes. Sorry, sir. Into the jugulo-omohyoid lymph node, and the submandibular lymph nodes further the efferent vessels drain into the superficial deep cervical lymph nodes.
Superficial as well.
Yes.
Mainly into the deep cervical.
Yes.
I think all of us are maybe the oncosurgeons and oral surgeons. They must know the anatomy of the buccal mucosa, anatomy of the tongue, and the lymphatic drainage. It should be very, very clear to them. Right?
The only thing that needs to be mentioned is that there can be a crisscross of the lymphatics. From the right side they can go to the left side. So you have to be very careful. If it is tongue, you have to do a bilateral node.
Bilateral tract, this is what Dr. Raghavan is saying, is very right, because anything which, any ulcer or any lesion you see in the center or in the root of the tongue, base of the tongue, that can go to both sides.
Both sides.
Right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Here I am putting up pictures of the ventral surface of the tongue along with the left buccal mucosa and the lower labial mucosa. Could anybody point out, is there any variation? So here I will be pointing it out as there is a tip superficial ulcer on the tip of the tongue along with multiple erosions which are coalescing on the left ventral surface of the tongue extending to the floor of the mouth surrounding by an erythematous halo. Also a superficial ulcer with surrounding erythematous or halo on the right floor of the mouth. There was a thick keratotic line, as it can be appreciated, on the left buccal mucosa along with underlying superficial erosions very fine and minute. There is a large superficial ulcer on the lower labial mucosa. On inquiring, the VAS score was the visual analog scale. Patient reported as 8 as the score. On palpation regarding the tongue ulcer, it was tender and had no sign of fixity or induration, nor it was associated with discharge or bleeding. On the hard tissue findings, we found sharp edges in relation to these teeth. Here the first digit represents the quadrant number followed by the second digit representing the tooth number. There was supragingival calculus. So further, I'll summarize the case so far. There was a 45-year-old female with recurrent multiple oral ulcers since 2 years undergoing remission and recurrence, hypothyroidism which is unmonitored, nutrition being hampered, sensitive to allergen, no major systemic finding. However, there was a single irregular shaped ulcer, sloping edge, smooth pale base, tender on palpation with no fixity or discharge or bleeding. And there were multiple erosions and superficial ulcers on ventral surface of the tongue, as well as the floor of the mouth and left buccal mucosa. So I'll again open the house for discussion regarding what should be the differentials now that we have done with the history and examination.
वही लड़की बोलेगी जिसने भी आंसर दिया था अभी कुछ रूल आउट हो गया
So now, as most of the things have been ruled out, I would keep the differentials as a basic disease or some pathological causes or some autoinflammatory diseases.
It can be.
It can be traumatic ulcer, then the traumatic ulcer and autoimmune disease can be a and a malignant ulcer also.
So like I earlier pointed out, the differentials being firstly under the infectious category bacterial, a tuberculous ulcer, there was no prodromal phase of low-grade fever, weight loss or malaise. Also the tuberculous ulcer is always having undermined edges. However, there was no such finding, so it is unlikely. Syphilitic ulcer is generally less seen nowadays in practice, and it has a snail track-like appearance, and it has a deep ulcer formation followed after the shank appearance. So it is
one important reason to rule out would be that these are recurring,
yes, sir.
repairing, recurring,
And chronic.
Right? If it was tubercular ulcer, it won't go away. Right?
Yes. Moving on to viral infections, it is always preceded by fever, vesical eruptions which lead to bursting and formation of deep ulcers, but since there was no such history, so it is unlikely. Fungal infections occur in cases of poor immunocompromised patients having diabetes or any other underlying systemic diseases with poor oral hygiene, so there was no such finding, so it is unlikely. Stress and dietary deficiency induced being the most common is the recurrent aphthous stomatitis, be it major, minor or herpetiform. So it can be considered as the patient was under stress, she was having nutrition was hampered, so it can be one of the causes. Autoimmune vesiculous lesions, there is the pemphigus vulgaris. There is superficial erosions, and when we stroke the normal healthy mucosa, it leads to spreading of these ulcers, and this is called as the Nikolsky sign. However, when we agitated the normal mucosa, there was no such spreading of the lesions, so pemphigus was eliminated. Syndrome, that is Behçet syndrome, is always preceded by oral lesions followed by the genital and ocular at the last. But there was no burning or maturation, so it was eliminated. Since Behçet is a more severe form, so we were starting to with the most common which we generally encounter. Bullous pemphigoid is a more cutaneous form, so it is unlikely. Moving on to cicatricial pemphigoid, which is also called as the mucous membrane pemphigoid, it is always preceded with the large bulla eruptions which rupture to form deep ulcers, and there was no such finding. Oral lichen planus, being the ulcerative form, is the most common one. According to our clinical presentation, there is a presence of Wickham striae, that is white interlacing lines are present, coalescing as well, along with papule eruptions. So there is a possibility of being oral lichen planus. Moving on to erythema multiforme. Erythema multiforme, as the name suggests, multiforme, there is multiple formations of papule, vesicle, bulla, which rupture to form deep ulcers. On partial healing, give a typical target-like or iris-like appearance, and there was no such finding, so it is eliminated. And lastly, the discoid lupus erythematosus is a severe form associated with arthritis. However, the oral lesions typically mimic the clinical presentation which we found in our case. So discoid lupus erythematosus could be also one of the possibilities. Lastly, lichenoid drug reaction, as patient was having history with long-term medications as well, and she is suggested to be allergic or slightly sensitive to allergens, so lichenoid drug reaction could be one of the possibilities. Traumatic ulcer, it always occurs in conjunction with sharp edges of the teeth, and as we found regarding the left lateral border of tongue, also in regarding to other teeth, there were in conjunction, there was finding regarding the sharp teeth, so it can be one of the causes as well. Non-healing ulcer, we generally term this whenever there is a formation of ulcer which is chronic with a prolonged history lasting more than 3 to 4 weeks, we consider, that's why we considered it as to be one of the probable diagnosis. And lastly, neoplastic ulcer. Neoplastic ulcer generally is having ulceroproliferative margins. Also, the regional lymph nodes are enlarged, matting, fixated. So for now, it is unlikely since there was no matting or fixity. Neither the ulcer borders were indurated. So regarding the differentials, the most foremost we considered was the non-healing ulcer on left lateral border of the tongue. Traumatic ulcer could be a possibility regarding the same. Recurrent aphthous stomatitis major regarding all the superficial erosions with the erythematous halo which we found on ventral surface as well as the buccal mucosa. Oral lichenoid drug reaction, ulcerative oral lichen planus and discoid uterus erythematosus. We advised a general physician consultation. Also, a dermatologist consultation was carried out for any mucocutaneous lesion on the other sides, and there was no significant findings. We advised blood investigations, also biopsy regarding the left lateral border of tongue, and regarding the same I would like to invite Dr. Garima Singh from Department of Oral Medicine, Oral and Maxillofacial Pathology to discuss with the same. Thank you.
So very good morning to everyone. I'll be discussing investigations, moving on further. So blood investigations were done for the patient, which included CBC count, DLC, KLC count, and thyroid profile, and all the investigations were under physiological limits. Also, ESR was carried out and HbA1c level was done, and after that also all the things were under physiological limits. Patient was non-diabetic and vitamin B12 level was also normal. So biopsy was performed after this to rule out any malignant or any neoplastic changes. So as it is shown here, first image is 4x view and second one is 10x view. And the epithelium which is shown here is just showing squamous hyperplasia. Biopsy was done only from the left lateral border of the tongue. Again, in the second one, 10x view is showing epithelium with only squamous hyperplasia, and second one is showing connective tissue which is there, and chronic granulation tissue and inflammatory cells are seen. So all these features are suggestive of any lesion which is of inflammatory origin. There are no dysplastic changes or malignancy which is seen. So coming to the pathophysiology, the first image is showing normal epithelium, normal cells, how it looks, and clinically how the normal tissue appears. Second one is hyperplasia, that is increase in number of cells which leads to the increase in the layers of epithelium. Our case is still this stage only, hyperplasia. If it would not be treated after this or not be diagnosed at the right time, it can lead to dysplasia, further leading to invasive carcinoma. So oral lesions, they are wide variety of appearances, and it's important to diagnose at early stages to prevent further transformation. Reactive hyperplastic lesions, they may include epulis, traumatic ulcer, or palatal hyperplasia. And benign lesions, they must be clinically separated as well as histologically diagnosed from precancerous and neoplastic lesions. So the final histopathological diagnosis from our side was chronic recurrent ulcer of inflammatory origin. Further, regarding treatment plan, I would like to invite Dr. Amrita to discuss it. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. From history, clinical examination, and histopathological correlation, our final diagnosis came out to be rheumatic ulcer in left lateral border of the tongue and recurrent after stomatitis major for other parts of the oral cavity. Coming to the treatment plan, considering each and everything as already explained, so our main focus of the treatment plan is directed towards the elimination of the patient's symptoms, and to achieve the successful outcome, patient counseling and reassurance was done. Patient was counseled about the disease and reassured that she will be okay if she will follow the prescribed treatment. And next approach is the removal of the underlying source of irritation, because in the literature it has been seen the major factors associated with recurrent after stomatitis is the underlying source of irritation and hematological deficiencies. Hematological deficiencies was ruled out by advising the blood investigations and immunotoxicity. So underlying source of irritation was removed because as per the Cogner phenomenon, which was first identified by Heinrich Cogner in 1877, stating that mechanical irritation can precipitate a formation of new lesions without any pre-existing disease. So on intraoral examination, we found the sharp edges of the teeth in the maxillary and the mandibular posterior molars. So we rounded the sharp edges of the teeth to avoid any further trauma to the oromucosal structures. And superficial scaling was done. Scaling is just the removal of the plaque in the calculus and can be done in various visits. So according to the patient need. In our patient was in pain and gums was very sensitive. So superficial scaling was done in this visit. And also we advised soft bristle brush was advised to avoid any toothbrush trauma, and advised to take soft diet to avoid trauma from mastication. Now coming to the pharmacological management, topical steroids are widely used and accepted as the primary treatment of choice. We have two options in the topical steroids to treat these kind of patients, that is potent steroid, which has clobetasol propionate, which is likely to cause fungal infection when applied intraorally. So, and we have intermediate topical steroid, that is triamcinolone acetonide based. So in our case, we used 0.1% triamcinolone acetonide based. As patient was unable to eat and nutrition was hampered, so we advised topical gel containing choline salicylate and lidocaine before meals to apply in the oral cavity to facilitate the eating. And then after meals we advised mouthwash containing chlorhexidine gluconate after meals.
How many times you can chlorhexidine?
So thrice daily after meals for 7 days was given.
Maximum?
So maximum it can be given 7 to 14 days.
Even for normal person?
Yes, even for normal person, because it has a property that it forms a thin layer in the oral cavity when it is used as a 1:1 dilution. If we are taking 5 ml of mouthwash with 5 ml of water, and then patient will keep the mouthwash into the oral cavity and swish for 10 seconds, and then it will spit. Then it forms a thin layer inside the oral cavity, which helps in killing of the microorganisms and reduce the microbial load in the oral cavity of the patient.
If you use for long duration?
So it will cause staining of the teeth. This is the side effect of chlorhexidine. So topical triamcinolone acetonide with ora-based gauze-based supported application after meals 3 times a day for 7 days was advised. To better retentive property, we used it with ora-base. After taking consent, intralesional triamcinolone acetonide 10 mg per ml was given at subepithelial tissue just underlying the lesion adjacent to the normal mucosa. So we also prescribed tablet prednisolone 20 mg morning dose once a day for 7 days because patient was given a history of recurrent oral ulcers. And according to Juan Chia et al., intralesional triamcinolone acetonide injection gives relief in 84.4% of the patients. And we recall the patient after 1 week. The all advice consultation like the physician consultation and dermatology consultation was done, and there was no positive finding present. And there was a slight regression in the previous lesions, and there was the patient complaints of new sites of occurrence of new lesions. picture, there is a presence of new lesions underneath the tongue, and this picture was taken before the suture removal because we recalled the patient for the suture removal after 7 days, and we took the picture before the removal of the suture. This is the mild superficial ulcer present underneath the biopsy site. This is a new lesion appearing on the left buccal superficial ulceration present on the left buccal mucosa extending to the vestibular region opposite to the maxillary molars, and there was a new lesion present on the right buccal mucosa extending to vestibule and the retromolar area. Also, there were new lesions present on the ventral surface of the tongue and on the left side and on the right side. And there was superficial erosion was present on the attached gingiva, and there was new lesion on the lower labial mucosa was seen in this visit. So, according to the literature, the major factors associated with recurrent aptus stomatitis is hematological deficiencies as well as the immunodeficiency. So, in this visit, we added immunomodulators along with the ongoing regimen. Deep subgingival and supragingival scaling was done in this visit. Along with the ongoing regimen, we added tablet levimazole 50 mg thrice daily for first 3 days for first week, and for the next consecutive week for first 3 days. And along with the levimazole is an anti-Helminthing drug which was introduced by Jensen in 1969, and its immunomodulatory effect was seen in the 1970s and 1980s for the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. So levimazole has a very fewer side effects. So we prescribed levimazole 50 mg TDS for 3 days for 1 week, and followed by the first 3 days of the next week, along with the tablet prednisolone 15 mg morning dose for first 3 days in first week and first 3 days in the next week, along with the antacids and topical triamcinolone acetonide 0.1% with Orabase was continued. And we recalled the patient after 4 weeks. In this week, there was a peeling previously was seen in the wall side, and there was only slight erythematous area was present on the left lateral border of the tongue, and patient complained of no new occurrence of the ulcers. Only slight erythema was present. There was complete remission of ulcers and erosions in all previously involved sites except some erythematous area was present on left lateral border of tongue. No new occurrence of lesions, and tablet prednisolone and topical triamcinolone acetonide in Orabase in tapering manner for next 2 weeks as a maintenance therapy was advised. And we recall the patient after 1 month for the follow-up visit, along with the blood investigations, serum cortisol, because we were advising the systemic corticosteroids. This is the pre and post intervention, first visit and after 5 weeks. All the lesions were completely healed. Coming to the discussion part, oral ulceration diagnosis is always challenging due to tremendous overlap in their clinical appearance. Also, these are the primary manifestations of many systemic diseases. Diagnosis of the oral ulcers along with the oral ulcers present on other parts of the body can be diagnosed due to its constitutional signs and symptoms, but the oral ulcers which are solely present in the oral cavity is difficult to diagnose, like in our case. Thus, biopsies are recommended for these type of ulcers and needs a thorough history taking and clinical examination, which is crucial to establish diagnosis appropriately in order to provide proper treatment. Take-home message: oral ulcers are a common finding which one can encounter in routine dental and medical practice. Thorough history, examination and comprehensive diagnostic test is vital for effective medical treatment. Since our patient was suffering from 2 years and she was roaming here and there, because there was no intraoral intervention was done since 2 years, and then when patient came to our department, we ruled out every possible etiological factor and treated the patient accordingly, and patient is doing fine.
So dental consultation is advised in every patient suffering from this type of oral lesions. Many systemic diseases may appear first in the mouth and manifest later. Routine dental checkup is advised every 6 months. Thank you. I would like to thank our emeritus chairperson to provided us the platform to present our case, and I would like to thank university management in terms of providing all the infrastructure and amenities, and I would like to thank our CCR review committee who guided us and gave us their valuable inputs. And I would like to thank our dean and all the deans and principals of this university who guided us in the right direction. And I would like to thank all heads of the department for their constant guidance and support. And lastly, I would like to thank our patients who came up for the follow-up visit.